I am Ashrita. I am head of the counseling department at Health Basics. Thank you for joining in on our workshop. We have this series of workshop each and every month. Uh, we try, we aim to have at least two workshops uh, at any given point on each month, and this is our first workshop for August, which is on science of happiness. Happiness is a very, very widely used concept. It is a feeling, an emotion that has been thoroughly researched, and it is not just in spotlight over the last few centuries, but even if we go back to our sacred literature, if we go back to our books on mythology, religion, politics, happiness is such a vital key for human interaction. It is given so much of importance, and more importantly, the entire experience of human beings is summated or is moved towards achieving happiness. So when we try to quantify or give a logical or a scientific element towards happiness, it feels like we are trying to hold it in a box or we are trying to dissect it. But we cannot really dissect a feeling or an emotion which does not have a physical shape. So, today, through our workshop, we would see how happiness, very much like air and gas, can be molded, it can be understood in different contexts, how it is perceived in different generations, how it is relevant for students and young children who go to schools today, how teachers, educators, and school management can, facilitate in creating a positive and happy environment for children. And most importantly, you as adults and audience, what you can take away from for your benefit and your growth. Right? So that is the entire purview of the workshop we have today. Are you all able to see the PowerPoint? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see. Great, thank you. So let's look at sense of happiness from an entirely psychological perspective, or from mental health angle, right? So, like I said, we are focusing on four areas. How does happiness as a term gets dissected in science and in an objective method? How happiness is perceived in the current population? How is the younger generation adopting to the concept of happiness? The intrinsic and the self reflection based thought process is mostly for us as adults, how we can look at happiness as something that we can build within ourselves or we can rechannel it within ourselves, and how happiness cannot exist on its own. It needs a very solid social and spiritual connection. Then we move towards the key takeaways, or we move towards the conclusion part of this. You're not able to see? Okay. Are you able to see now?
Even I am unable to see Ashrita.
Okay.
Zeba here.
Hi Deepa. Thank you for joining in.
Welcome.
How about you, Kanishka or Tamarai? Are you able to see?
No, ma'am, I am not
So
able
this.
to see.
Okay. Uh, are you able to see now?
Yes, ma'am, yes.
I
Yes, yes.
now you can see. Okay, sorry for the glitch. Okay, so the phase one is how did happiness become science? Uh, when we look at our religious texts and mythology throughout, evolution of time, happiness was a very, very core concept or an area of interest for human pursuit. We have been raised on the stories of bravery, on the stories of conquest, and stories on, powering through difficulties to achieve a state of enlightenment and happiness. But what happened to this emotion and to this feeling over time? It got very it got a very strong attention from philosophy, but again in mid 19th and early 20th century, when the entire field of psychology was born, what happened was, uh, when I say the field of psychology was born, I mean what I mean to say is the scientific area of psychology when it was born. What happened? The earlier psychologists started focusing on the distress, challenges, and the uh, problems that we as human beings were facing in our existing times. And the entire focus went on identifying, dissecting the symptoms, and focusing on the treatment of the symptom. For example, fever is one symptom of any illness. But to remove fever, we take what do we take? We take a medication or we take a tablet. And through that, what we are able to do, we are able to treat the fever. But we are not really able to treat the entire disease in itself that is causing fever as a symptom. So mental health was looked on in a very similar way, where if a person would, for example, feel exhausted or tired, they were given interventions or treatments to reduce this tiredness or distress. But it was never focusing on the entire well-being of an individual, and it just progressively became very clinical and medical heavy with the introduction of psychoanalysis, CBT, cognitive models. But then humanistic psychology revamped the entire way we look at mental health. So, with the introduction of Maslow's theory of needs and Carl Rogers' client centered therapy, what happened? There was an entire shift in how we look at a human mind, where positive emotions are also validated and given heavy importance on maintaining our overall emotional and mental health. Why it becomes very important is because uh, we keep validating medication and uh, cognitive therapies as a part of our well-being. But what about the existing thought processes or feelings and emotions that exist within us that are also helping us maintain our sanity, right? So this is where Martin Seligman and Csikszentmihalyi are two founding pillars of positive psychology. If there is any concept of happiness that has been studied in psychology, it begins with Martin Seligman. So he first launched positive psychology in 1998 in the American Psychology Presidential Address, and he first declared that yes, positive psychology is the study of human emotions that enable individuals to flourish in our community. And this could not have been possible without Csikszentmihalyi. We will be talking more about their work in the future slides, right? So what happened once when they launched this formal address in APA organization was the entire field started questioning human beings in a different way. From asking people what is wrong with you or what's going on with you, are you okay, to what makes your life worth living. What do you look forward to in a on an average day? So this is the core issue that shifted and gave importance to positive psychology. So these are some of the researches that have also helped in giving a very strong foundation to happiness as a scientific concept. One of the most longest and still going on study is the Harvard study of adult development, where they have understood that the strongest predicator of life and the strongest predicator of human success lies in the happiness and the health of a person. So this study started with 700 original participants. These 700 participants have not only passed, some of them have a disease, some of them are still going on strong, but not only these participants are participating, but their ongoing descendants are also part of the study. It is one of the most longest and the strongest longitudinal study that we ever have in psychology. The next one is the Minnesota twin studies. This is a very important study where though twins who were uh, you know uh, separated or were given different kind of upbringing, but still they showed heavily, their emotions and their feelings were influenced by the social existence, but that did not limit to them to searching for happiness. It was also found that twins could feel emotions in a very similar way, irrespective of the social influences that were given to them. The next one is the subjective well-being study in '84, where what Diner found out through his study was it happiness is not just removing your negative effects, but it's also meeting your goals that brings life satisfaction, plus meeting frequently getting positive you know elements in your life. For example, feeling happy for a friend or making new friends, going out more often, enjoying concerts, uh, having surprise parties with friends, or celebrating your special occasions in life with others, meeting your important deadlines, completing a long term goal. All of these are small, small elements that have, impacted the overall life satisfaction, leading to overall happiness in the individual. Next is hedonic psychology. As horrible as that sounds, the word hedonic, in a very negative way, that's not what it means. Uh, Hedonic psychology by Kahneman basically means that you are introspecting your life as you go. Uh, for example, whenever you for example you go for a concert or a movie you've been longing to go, so in that moment when you are experiencing that event, how do you experience yourself? How do you look at yourself? Are you happy being in that moment? Are you feeling that you have completed or achieved a moment that you were waiting for? Or are you remembering a version of yourself that would have been happy? So it is very important to be attuned to our reality of what exactly we need and are we meeting our needs or not. And the last one is the concept of flow by Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is a foundation which talks about getting a perfect experience, or the only experience when our internal talents and skills match the environment outside. For example, if there is a student who is intrinsically leaning towards music, and the parents or the school asks the student to move towards other performing arts. Music is a performance arts, but say the teachers or the parents realize he's also good at acting, and they want the child to take up plays and take up roles he's not comfortable in, or even more distracting would be sports, or taking up debate competitions. What happens, the child's internal needs or the talent is not appropriately challenged, and that leads to disharmony in the uh, internal balance of what the child should be doing and what the child should wants to do. So when the child has the right interest and the right talent towards music, and when the child is challenged towards pursuing music, what happens? He experiences the state of reward. Now, if the child is good at guitar, giving a ukulele will not make sense to the child, but at the same time, giving the child an electronic guitar also will not make sense, because the child may need an acoustic guitar. Maybe the child is very comfortable with an acoustic guitar, and ukulele is just too easy because there are only four strings, and electric guitar needs you to manipulate the sound and the volume of the guitar based on the strings that are being played. Also, they need to learn how to put the right cables to the guitar, which the child may not be having the experience for. So, giving the child the right acoustic guitar based on his talent and giving him the notes to play that will challenge him appropriately will lead to achieving the state of flow. So, it's not just your internal capacity, but the environment also should help you meet your capacity and goals. So, how is happiness measured? As toddlers, when a child first learns how to give different reactions and emotions, they are usually asked the question, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling happy? Or are you feeling sad? Are you feeling tired? How do you feel today? So it's a very simple question that brings about self awareness in a child. But as the toddler grows into a young child, pre-teens, teenagers, into adolescents, and finally adults, the way we measure happiness starts to change. So, experience sampling method is, which is the point to here, is a real-time prompt that we capture, or we start, to ask a person, "How are you doing today? How do you feel today?" It's one of the most simplest and more accurate way of checking on a person or an individual or a child. Here there is no time given for the person to manipulate or give a twisted answer or a incorrect answer. So, on the moment, the child is more likely to say, I feel good, or I feel great, or I am worried about the exam that's coming next week. So, the child or the young teenager is more likely to give a authentic answer. Then there is also physiological and neural correlates, where you can look at the heart rate variability and the physical nature of the child or a young person, on how they're relating in the environment. For example, hands are shaking, or there is consistent sweat, or sweat which is formed near the forehead or in the hands or on the neck, or maybe the child is restless, not able to contain himself or herself in any place. Sometimes there will be nervous tics like scratching, pulling ears, rubbing eyes, fiddling with clothes. All of these are indicators that they are not very comfortable in that situation or in that environment, right? Then there are standardized self-report skills. One of the most common scale is the satisfaction life scale, which talks about which rates your happiness. So if you score in a particular range, it will tell you that you're happy because the environment is good, or you're happy because you have achieved something, or you're happy because you are very comfortable being who you are as a person. So there are different degrees to the scale. Next is longitudinal cohort designs, where individuals are again followed across different decades, different situations. They're evaluated on every angle possible, where it gives a idea. These individuals become a sample or the representation of that particular individuals from that area. For example, if people in Europe are very happy for the reasons that they get more time out in the sun, or that they are able to enjoy time in the nature, that they are able to get easy access to public spaces, like they have parks, or they can go swimming in public pools, or they have small clinics that can easily give them medical care. But that cannot be compared to a dense country like India, where our population is very dense. So having a public space means there might be three times or four times more people enjoying the same space that people in Europe might be enjoying, or there might be access to medical care, but there are twice the number of people who are outside waiting to access medical health and care. So, the standard that is met in one continent cannot be applied in the another continent or the region. Why? Because situations and events, population, and the way policies are implemented are very different. So longitudinal cohort designs are very good indicators for a particular region and for a particular group of people alone. It cannot be generalized across region and time. The next one is cross national survey data, where there was the World Happiness Report that came out in 2012, and successfully, it has been given to Ireland. There are 140 plus, not Ireland, sorry, Iceland. 140 plus countries participate annually every year, and sometimes Bhutan wins. We've had Iceland winning since 2018 consistently, which talks about how happy people are in the country, irrespective of economies and finances that are present. So it is equivalent to how we calculate GDP. So when we look at foundations of well-being and happiness, the most traditional one is well-being is a pleasure attainment and pain avoidance. So the more happier we are, the more we are not focusing on pain or distress, right? There is eudaimonic tradition, where whether we are upset or have angry or sad, well-being should not be held accountable only if we are sad or angry. Then happiness cannot exist. We can be happy, we can be growing, we can be a full functioning adult, But at the same time, there will be situations that may beat us down, or we may not have the hope like we have on other days, right? So that is the whole balance of life in general. So as long as we are growing, we are functioning, we are moving from one place to another successfully, then our well-being can be assumed that it is growing and not stagnant, uh, just because of few sour experiences. The next one is a PERMA theory by Martin Seligman. It is a mnemonic for positive emotion, engagement, relationship, meaning, and accomplishment. So, if we are claiming as individual that we are really happy, fulfilled, and our well-being is going strong, it depends on how often in a day or in a period of time we are experiencing positive emotions, how often we are engaged with our work, engaged with ourselves, engaged with our friends and family, engaged in community work, and engaged doing acts of service for our society in general. So next is relationships. How positive and how functional our relationships are. Everyone has a friend. Everyone has, cousins. We have parents, grandparents. We have, what do you say, young nieces, nephews. But at the end of the day, when we look at relationships, how meaningful, how positive, how dependable are our relationships? How much can we count on the next person for moving on in life? Right? Next is meaning. What is our purpose in our life? Our purposes as we grow or we go or move ahead in life, our meaning and purpose keeps changing. So for a young toddler, the purpose might be very different from a person who has found who is entering the job market, right? So our purpose and meanings keep changing in different phases of life. But do we have a meaning? Is there a purpose that we are working towards? And the last is the accomplishment. Accomplishment is so easy to either pull us down or to help us fly in the sky. Because when we accomplish something, the first thing we do is not only acknowledge it, we share it with our friends and family. But the question lies, do we have the right set of friends and family to share our accomplishments? Will they feel happy for us? The second thing is comparison. Is our accomplishment enough? Is it really, helping us feel fulfilled, or helping us reach our life goal? Then the next is, even if we feel or believe that yes, what I have achieved is a very big thing for me, then comes comparison. But my classmate, my friend, my neighbor, my cousin, my relative has done even more than me what I have done with half the resources. So, am I incapable, or is that person really talented or opportunistic? This kind of thought process will diminish everything you have worked for, right? So, Martin Seligman focuses on acknowledging your accomplishment, sharing it with your near and dear ones who will be genuinely happy for you, and setting on new targets in life. Because even though you may be comparing, even though you may be holding yourself back, but life moves on. It does not wait for you to finish your comparisons and give you new opportunities, right? So that's what Martin Seligman says, to focus on acknowledging your relationships, your purpose, your emotions, and your accomplishments. sharing them in a very healthy environment of your social circle, and moving on meaningfully. The next is Set Point and Hedonic Adaptation by Brickman and Campbell. So let's look at our mind as a fan regulator. We all have working fans at our home, right? Some days during summers it gets really hot, and those are the days we want a fan at full speed. But during winter seasons, during cold monsoon seasons, we don't really need the fan at full speed because the air from outside keeps coming in, and so ventilates our room in a very comfortable temperature. So, according to Brickman and Campbell, our mind is exactly like that. We have certain setbacks, we have certain good emotions, but our mind is so flexible and capable that it keeps coming back to the baseline temperature after experiencing the highs of life and lows of life. So life goes on, things happen, bad experiences do come, but our mind has the ability to solve our issues and come back to its baseline set point. And the last one is broaden and build. This one is a very, very important theory because Fredrickson truly believes that life does not have a baseline. Life will keep on improving. I, what I mean by life is the quality of our life, the quality of our interactions, the quality of the friendships and relationships we build. They will only move on, or they are only going to get better when positive emotions will broaden the thought action situations, and over time they will build our durable psychological, physical and social resources. So the more positively we try to live our life, that is, the more we focus on the functional, the solvable, and have a positive and an optimistic mindset, those will be your biggest tools for building a resource. A resource does not only mean money, it also means valuable social connections, valuable health, and thoughts and emotions that will protect us at the time of our distress. That means it builds resilience over time. So the more we focus on going outside, meeting people, helping others, being altruistic in nature, the more we are able to get fit, meditate, focus on our physical health, diet, sleep, and our usual social patterns, and the more we focus on improving ourselves without comparison, without putting ourselves down, the more it is going to build our resilience, the bigger our social circle will be, and more importantly, we are physically going to feel stronger and more capable to solve challenges or problems that we may or we may not foresee in the future. So this is a very evolving theory where he does not uh, imply that happiness is something we need to achieve. He talks about happiness as being a part of our life at every wake and awake situation. So the next phase is, what does happiness mean to us and the young? So how do we across generations perceive happiness, and how does it translate in the classrooms? Right? So our parents and grandparents generation, that is Gen X, Boomer generation, was uh, looking at happiness as having security and stability. Let me remind you, from 1930s onwards till 1990s, there was a very turbulent financial and economic time that we collectively faced as families. We've had a lot of political instability, we had insecurity for jobs, the concept of employment was scattered, there was no defined roles in the society. When I say no defined roles, the definition of employment was very different back then than it is today, right? So having a home, having your basic security needs, that is food, clothing, shelter, a loving family, and regular interaction with your friends and family was what gave happiness or what resulted in happiness. Well being was assumed to follow if a duty was fulfilled. And also, happiness, like sadness, irritation, and frustration, was not openly in a social situation discussed among people. It was not especially discussed in school. But then came the millennial generation from 1981 onwards, where happiness was an achievement. It was a result of our achievement and success. So, a idea or a dream was sold to people from 1970s and 80s onwards that we need to follow our passion, we need to follow our calling. It was also the first time a generation completely understood the concept of stress. It understood the concept of isolation. It understood the meaning of work life balance and has openly spoken, researched, and has written multiple articles in the social and economic settings. But again, this realization happened only when young adolescents started entering into workforce, and much earlier in their adulthood this realization had set in. But today's generation, that is Gen Z generation from 1997 and Gen Alpha generation, that is from 2013 onwards, they prioritize happiness and mental health as a part of their daily routine. It is not separate, it is not another element in their lives. This is very important for us to, as educators, as therapists, as teachers, to know that for them, mental health, happiness, academics, and achievements all happen in the same continuum. There is no segregation between any of their any parts of their life. It is an explicit goal, and they have given a fundamental status to their mental health and happiness. So they are also very comfortable expressing how they feel, how they think, how they are experiencing their everyday life. And it is also something that is not in teenage years, but it's right down at younger ages itself, where children are very attuned to their emotions and feelings. So, today's children, unlike previous generations, are not really looking for happiness as a moment, a monument, or a final destination. They continuously look at happiness in a very small and frequent opportunities. When we look at Freud's theory of id, ego, and superego, he very clearly mentions that id is the impulsive drive or the factor that will not help you achieve higher goals in life. If we continuously keep chasing smaller doses of satisfaction or our impulses, it will hinder our long term goals and higher, more complex goals that we set for ourselves. And ego, which is the reality principle, gets distorted because we continuously keep blurring the lines between impulses and what is the general societal expectation. This we can see in action with today's children, where they don't really focus on their focus is not spent on meeting higher end goals or long term goals, but they also prioritize their everyday habits or everyday events and translate them into happiness or their overall positive well being. For example, going and playing a cricket match or a chess match, sharing memes on social media. Uh, we use the word chat, but again, uh, today's children text. They keep DMing each other, or they keep writing what is that WhatsApp messages to each other, where what happened was they find happiness or they find well-being in these small entities of their day. But this contrasts to the previous generation, who would wait to achieve who would wait for achievements to come into their basket, and then they would experience the real happiness or emotion, like getting your first job, scoring above 90 percentile, or your desired percentages in board examination, getting admission into prestigious universities or college, or into the college of your choice. We There was a lot of responsibility and pressure to meet those requirements, which is very which is there even today, but it is not prioritized as everything. Then again, it's a very, very positive and appreciable thing that today's generation wants to be understood and accepted by their peers. And it is not just that their families are giving them that validation, but they also want to be deeply understood by their friends and communities out there in social media, even in school or even in classes. And outside school and classes, they have a lot of social media pages like Discord. Uh, there is Roblox, and a lot of online gaming sites where they interact with each other. And there is a complete shift towards being authentic. There is a Now the peer pressure is more on how real, how authentic, how true a person or a student values himself or herself. uh, Words like stress, anxiousness, depression uh, are now a part and parcel of their daily vocabulary. I feel so stressed out. I can't take this anymore. I don't think it's in my capacity to do so much of homework. I think I need a break. It's just getting a lot right now. These are some of the most common phrases that children, especially from grade 6, grade 7 onwards, start using with each other. And it just gets progressively more complex as the grades increase. So now, children are much more easily exposed to global events and climate concerns, where we have media and news at our fingertips. We no longer have to wait for a newspaper. We no longer have to wait for the Internet Explorer to finish booting the internet and flashing it on our desktops. We no longer have the concept of carrying the laptop everywhere, because we have iPads, we have tablets, mobile phones. And if all of those are not enough, there are also wristwatches delivering news and current affairs to us. So children are no longer protected from devices. They are in fact adopting their entire lives around devices. So they cannot escape news. They cannot get away from recent what do you say major events that are happening in our financial or political climate, right? So there are a lot of climate concerns where, for example, Sayadri ranges were always under the government scrutiny. But today, children understand what it means to cutting down trees, and they actively start rallies, they participate in protests, they even arrange protests. So, for them, well being is not just restricted to family and their purpose in life, but they are equally concerned about the environment around them, the social, political, financial factors that will decide their future. So they are not just limited in their bubbles, but they are looking to expand their bubbles. Now, what happens with teachers is students start asking or expecting faster feedback. So, the minute their work is done, they want the teacher to continuously give them rewards, or they want to gain functional feedback from teachers. So, it may sound like, how did I do? How much did I score? Am I going to pass? How much the time will it take to know how well have I completed work? So now attention now requires to sustain their attention. Not only is the reward that is important, but also continuous engagement is important, and the onus entirely lies on the teachers. So if as educators you have extra worksheets or extra homework, not homework but like classroom activities that you have planned, you can actually make it more into group work or a group project where students get time to socialize, interact with each other, and figure out the goals that you have given them. And now there's also something called experiencing versus knowing your vocabulary. Students are very easily able to pick up their emotions and feelings and they can name it. For example, stress becomes OCD. Because of stress, sometimes you get nervous tics, so you may be rubbing your ears or pulling your hair. But then they will call it trichotillomania. I have trichotillomania because I'm pulling my hair. I am going to get bald very soon. So things that they don't even know, have not experienced yet, is what they are starting to name it right away. Right? So naming your feeling and emotion is not equivalent to regulating. It is just having an awareness. So as educators, as teachers, you need to start co-regulating with students. So one of the most popular group activities you can do at a classroom level is to have different breathing techniques. Now, before examination, we can do bear breathing, or we can breathe like a tortoise, or we can breathe like a dolphin. There are a lot of breathing techniques that you can Google online. It's a very fun way of teaching students how to co regulate. If you are stressed at home, or you feel that you feel isolated, do not immediately reach out to gadgets. You can learn how to paint, you can learn practice different styles of painting or sketching. And as teachers, if you teach these skills in the classes, you're giving the child that opportunity to practice and take it to them at home as well. So even though they may want to pick up that phone, but even the 10-second thought that they'll have, maybe I don't want a phone, I am getting angsty, I am getting annoyed. Let me just pick up a paper and pencil and try that one method the teacher has taught me. If the child even begins to contemplate, please know that you have really, sparked curiosity and interest in the child at that minute. And that is what co regulation really means. You are teaching skills and you are doing the same skills at the same time as a student in the classroom, and that will help the child really manage their feelings and emotion, and not just go around labeling and naming how they are feeling. So another thing is, students speak well-being while examination will speak about how well they are doing. Children understand that their well-being and their state of equilibrium, that there is nothing troubling or disturbing them, is very important. But as educators, all that has to be kept aside during examination, because nothing will speak more than how the child performs in the exam. Because as educators, you really understand, and and you have seen it, you have experienced the competition, the demand, of academics that is there in mainstream education, and the future of your student. And even you once experienced how difficult it is not to get into that percentile or get into those ranks that will help you decide your future of what you would like to be. Now, earlier it was just engineering and doctor, but today our professions are not restricted to that. There is just as much demand for a lawyer, a demand for a chartered accountant, a demand for a business analyst, a demand for somebody who works authentically in media and do social media marketing and advertising. These fields, which were not really, yielding any profits or yielding any source of income, today are under a lot of competition. And you, as teachers, understand this. But when the child is living in a parallel world, maintaining their well being by not pressurizing themselves, by not stressing themselves out, they want to continue living in that state of euphoria and that happiness. It is very important that as educators you talk about how to get uh, how to start regulating their attention towards studies, how to take more time out of their day towards preparing for the future, how to map their career and their future path, which is not just limited to making reels or stories on Instagram or trying to become influencers, because their life is also not easy. They also need to be, attentive. They need to be continuously following up with brands and people they're working with on social media. They also have the pressure of, looking a certain way, speaking a certain words, things that, children don't realize. So as educators, now know that they genuinely don't understand how pressure works, and school is a great way to teach them that pressure is just more than feeling happy, but to actually taking their life a little seriously, right? So peer life continues online after school. Yes, this is a very insidious, unfortunate situation, because even 10-15 years ago, online meant spending a certain hours on social media and cutting cords with the internet, because we had a very fixed routine and schedule. So what happens is, over the weekend, children talk about how they spent time on the weekend, how much money was spent, where did they go, what all they have done, how many photos they're uploading, how many reels they're making with their classmates or with their school friends, whom are they dating, how often they're going out. Everything gets updated on social media, and Monday's conversations will be the download of what happened over the weekend. So even though it's a fresh week, a fresh start, but still events and incidents from the previous week will lap over, or they'll come out in the classroom on Monday, right? So as teachers, it's very important to uh, give them or redirect their attention towards what needs to be done for the week. And lastly, students, there's a very popular theory. It is a theory of observational learning by Albert Bandura. If anyone has time, you can please look at the experiment on Bobodol, on how the Bobodol was treated by two, three different groups of children, and that teaches you, scientifically proven, and it shows as a theory that children will pick up on your emotions. If you are well rested, if you are feeling happy, energized, and sorted, children will pick up on your emotions and your feelings, and they are also more likely to feel more relaxed if you, as a teacher, are relaxed. But as relaxed, I don't mean a lenient, I also mean that you have a strong grip over the class, but at the same time, you're telling them, see, we have curriculum to finish, but it's not the end of the world that we need to rush. We need to go at a very good steady pace. I have this planner ready for all of you, and I need you to meet my planner or the goals. The more sorted you are in the class, the more sorted the students goal setting will be for your period. So these are some theories we can see. Again, like I said, in flow, students are already in their own state. So as teachers, it's very important to understand what kind of learning level each child is in, and accordingly preparing sheets of worksheets, or pairing them in groups with where children who are already at par with the syllabus, with children who are struggling in the class, and creating buddy systems is great way of exercising flow in the classroom. Self determination theory is, uh, you need to address the rationale or the motivation behind why you are teaching the topic, what relevance it has in their current life. If it is not relevant to the current life, half the attention is fallen there itself. Children will not, and they don't want to also pay attention if it is not relevant to their existing life. If it is not relevant, you can also exercise curiosity. For example, if it's a story about, there was a very personal story in one of the schools I went for observations in class 7th, and it was a Hindi chapter on this mailman who wanted to inform one family about their son winning a lottery in the city, and the mailman was actually reading the letter to the parents. So the children kept asking, why is the mailman reading the letters? What about the privacy of the parents? How can he do that? They're not wrong. They're correct because they don't know what a mail is. They don't understand the concept of how literacy works in villages and what is the role of a mailman, how post offices exist even today in the digital ages of email. So I took over the class and told them, today you have emails with password. Imagine you lose your password and you have a very important email. Don't you want someone to just share that information with you? And the class goes like, yeah, we would want to know. I was like, that's exactly what happens here. Now, imagine they are not used to reading that language what the son has written in. Don't you think it is fair that the mailman is helping the couple? Because we cannot talk about or teach them about how literacy worked back then, or how education has transformed. It's a whole thing. So in a class where you have 30 minutes, building that initial curiosity becomes very vital, because now they want to know, and they also want to find out how did the mailman read the letter to the parents. Was he empathetic and compassionate, or did he just read it randomly and keep the letter away? Was the permission given to the mailman to read the letter or not? Where does the stamps come from? Who will give you the stamp? How do you know which stamp to put where? These were all the questions that came out because we just clicked onto that curiosity. So even if the rationale doesn't make sense, building the basic curiosity was enough to sustain their attention in the class. The next is gratitude journals, circle times, and SELs. SELs, if your school has a counselor, they're more likely to engage students in SEL during free periods. But having a gratitude time where the last 5 minutes of your class you are bringing the entire class in one circle, or you're bringing the class together but with towards a conclusion minutes where they talk about what they have learnt in the class and how much it meant to them, will really help them also understand why they're learning what they're learning. The next one is taking breathing breaks and mindful minutes, where within the classroom, within those 30 minutes, you can just take a 2-minute breather in the middle of the session to talk about one point or 3 points that they have learned till now. And having them written in the back of the notebook or in a separate pocket notebook will help them understand where they stand in the class. That idea that the child has, Are other students have written more than me, or I am not able to recall anything, is enough for the child to have realization that they need help with academics, or they are so good with academics that they're prepared or they're ready to help their classmates. So these mindfulness activities are also activities for self realization that can happen within the period. The next one is PERMA or strengths. Basically, PERMA we have already covered. Having an SEL curriculum uh, conducted by the school counselors or school therapists will help students build their overall persona and a sense of self that cannot really be taught through mainstream education. It is like an add-on curricula or an add-on learning for them that goes beyond mainstream books or education. Now, what happens is, uh, as educators, you also see sometimes that when children are on social media and children are told by the teachers that they're not doing rather well, they are in a conflict. But I'm popular on social media. Why is the teacher worried about my studies? Or, I am not even getting enough followers and I'm sulking in studies? Or the third factor is, how is it that my parents are pushing me towards studying so much? I'm getting 95, 96%, right? Why can't they give me mobile? 5 minutes I'll use and get some followers. For that, also, they have an issue. So, these are some situations a lot of children will compare themselves with. So, it's very important to understand that social media needs to be kept at the time when the child has developed social and emotional maturity, like at the ages of 17, 18 years, when child understands how peer pressure works, how unreal and not very serious it is for in the real world. Social media does not have much of relevance. Then there is performance positivity. This is a genuine challenge a lot of students are going through today. And it has started over the last 5 6 years, where there is so much of pressure to be happy, so much of pressure to sound genuine, to sound authentic, not disclosing their internal frustration and pressure. Even though the parents today, the teachers today, the adults around them are ready, mentally prepared to hear, mental health words from children. Still, children want to show that they're very happy and they're doing their best and they are doing really well in the class. Next is therapy, using therapy words to explain the distress. I am having OCD. If I don't switch on the light on my table lamp, I cannot focus. It has to be on whether I am studying or not. This person is such a green flag, that person is such a red flag, they're so toxic. Like, these are the phrases that we continuously hear. And the next one is uh, the 30-second reels, the 10-second reels, comedy sketches, which are basically there for 20 seconds. They keep hitting microscopic dopamine, shots. The dopamine is like tuck, 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 tuck in their mind. And that keeps on giving a loop of wasting time watching reels. And today, Gen Zs and Gen Alphas have a word for it called doom scrolling. Doom scrolling is basically watching reels and videos on an entire loop. And the last one is experiencing loneliness. Although students love taking pictures in groups, they like taking pictures in every corner, they have filters, they have very fun and entertaining ways of capturing their social presence outside school by either going to each other's house for sleepovers or going out in the evening and meeting at dinners or pizza places or cafe hopping. Still, they cannot meaningfully connect with their group, or they don't know how to meaningfully connect with certain people, and this leads to a lot of perceived loneliness and emptiness within. Now, what happens in school is, at school, having small rituals, like I previously told, greeting at the doors, having appreciation, giving the 2 minutes mindfulness session, mindfulness practice of what are the three things you have learned, write it down, can create a sense of routine in children. And the next one is offering rational or curiosity towards what is being done in the class. The next one is, there are times when you will have free periods or the curriculum is not a lot. But in a month, having 2 or 3 periods in a class where there is no routine, there is no structure, just letting children experience boredom with themselves. Boredom is such an undervalued tool. When you're bored, when you don't have anything going on in your mind, it is such a constructive time of it's a constructive time to really sit with your feelings. Boredom brings out those thoughts, feelings, and emotions that does not usually come out in our structured and planned day. So when you are bored, you have time to evaluate what you're thinking, what you're going through, how you're feeling in the moment, how you feel when you're at home. You really get that time for yourself. And boredom is very, very important because out of boredom comes creativity. And you start to use all your cognitive faculties to feel productive or to feel, that some event or situation is happening in that particular time. Next is mind the models, where students co-regulate based on how the adult is feeling in the class. So if a class is very nervous or they're creating a huge racket, they are challenging you and they question you, like, how dare you teach us, how dare you shout at us, I will complain to the principal, I will complain on you, I will make sure you are not doing well in school. The kind of threats, I'm very sure some teachers do get these things. It's very important to let them understand how you're feeling in the moment by saying things like, I'm very calm, I am relaxed, I don't see why you are not relaxed. What is there to be so upset about? If I am relaxed and I'm going at a very good speed, your classmates are going at good speed, I expect you also to follow along the class. So, what happens here is you're teaching the child how to help them self regulate and realize that this child is the only one who is having disturbance or issues in the moment. Okay, so the next one is theory of self determination. Sorry, we don't have time, so I'm just going a little fast. Self determination theory is nothing but, I would like to be autonomous, I am capable, and I understand the need of why I am doing what I am doing. I am doing this because I want to do, I see a value in this, and I'm not interested in money or fame, or I am going to get a very good name in the society. I am doing this because I know I am capable and I can do this. But if in this moment, if when I know I am capable and I know I am good at it, and if still somebody keeps rewarding me for what I am good at, then I am going to have self doubt. That am I only good because I'm getting rewarded? Am I only capable? I feel capable when others are giving me a gift or when others are giving me money. So that is why we should learn when to give rewards and when to experience our competency. So, if we are really autonomous and capable in certain areas of our lives, rewards in that time or in that phase should not matter. The next one is flow. The hedonic treadmill is a continuous loop of I work, I do a lot of good things in life. That is why I am able to gain possession. I am able to build a career. I am able to build a house. I am able to build a, lifestyle for my family, which is the complete opposite of flow. I am unmatched and I am so good at my work because I know how to overcome and take over the challenge. So, what happens in flow, you are rewarding yourself and you are making yourself more capable at that time. And you are not worried about how much reward or how much my efforts are going to be paid off. I am making that effort because I want to make that effort. And when you are training your mind to be in a state of flow, always understand where you stand, what is the level of or capacity you have towards solving a situation, and how challenging is the task. If the challenge and your capacity match, you will automatically reach the state of flow. If the task is too complex, then you will have experience anxiousness. But if the challenge is too low, you are going to face boredom. So the capacity and the challenge should always match with each other. The next one is gratitude journaling. Gratitude journaling is not supposed to be a thing. It is just a activity where you sit down and list out what are the things you've done, how are you feeling in the moment. It can be a 2 minute exercise, it can be a 20-minute exercise. So it is not something that has to be a big thing where you are sitting out in a perfect place with a perfect notebook with a perfect pen. It can also include scribbles, it can also include just how you're feeling, and when you see that on the paper, it's just like a beautiful release of emotions. The next is expressive writings. Expressive writings is nothing but uh, I am feeling, I feel, I genuinely think, and I know why I'm feeling this way. When you use these sentences to write down on a topic of your choice for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, it is equivalent to a very strong emotional release. What happens here is mindfully you're creating a cognitive thought process of what was the first thing that happened, what made me feel that way, what finally happened, and when finally things ended, how did I feel. So you're working on your attention, memory, writing skill, thought organization. That will challenge your cognitive processing. Then reflecting on how things have occurred. So, in any instance, what did this teach me? Over, oh no, had I done things differently, it would have been better. Why did I do this? Why did I think like that? Why did I say it in that way? That is rumination. However, opposite to that is reflection. Okay, the incident has happened, so happened. Now, what should I do next? In future, if the similar thing happens, what is the alternative behavior or feeling I should choose? And the last one is the meaning centered perspective. Like I said, if children need a rational or reason why they're studying a certain concept, as adults, even we need the same thing. And the last one is the value of social and spiritual connection. If you remember the Harvard study in the beginning, I had told you, over 85 years, what they found is close relationships and strong friendships were the strongest predicator for happiness and health in the later life of human beings. Relationships at 50 years predicted a very good strong physical health at 80, more than your physical health and your stress levels. Loneliness confers mortality risk, which is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I'm sure thing would have been, this statement was there everywhere on social media a few years ago. And quality outweighs quantity, meaning that the quality and the kind of friendships you have, the value you have for your friends and your family, will create a warm and secure bond with yourself and with your loved ones, which will build a very strong immune system. Next is oxytocin. Oxytocin is a chemical of warmth, attachment, and feelings that comes directly through physical touch, like hugging, caressing someone, holding hands, uh, engaging in contact sports. All of these release oxytocin chemicals. Again, co-regulation is calming down by self, either by watching others or with the help of others. Positivity resonance is small movements or micro moments of positive experiences that we've had with ourselves or between strangers or even between our friends and families. For example, somebody opening the door for you, or when the lady at the cafe gives you a free coffee or a free sandwich, or somebody compliments on how you dress or how you walk, or somebody giving you an eye contact and smiling at you. These are like small micro moments of positive affect or positive experiences that really builds your physical health and your emotional flexibility. The next one is blue zone observation. The world's longest lived communities uh, are in different parts of the world, meaning you have long lived communities in India, you have an entire village in Japan, you have them in Northern Europe. So, even though our diet and our physical areas change, what remains consistent is how friends and how social circle and how purposeful we are in life. That really builds our age and our survival into positive quality. And needing others is not dependence or weakness, but it is for us to share our workloads. So, we humans are designed by evolution. It is not a learned thing. We are biologically designed to be social and to work in groups. We are not designed to be away, isolated, and separated from friends and family or peers in general. Right? So, from this, we have learned that happiness is science. We can measure happiness, we can define it, but again, it changes over time and experiences. So, what happiness meant 50 years ago will definitely have a new meaning today. But that is life, right? Like, we do not necessarily have to have a strong definition that can stand against time. So, psychology and mental health is an evolution. As long as people change and evolve, the concepts of happiness, feelings, perception, thought processes will also have newer definitions. Now, when we are intrinsically, meaning internally we are motivated, it gives us autonomy. Autonomy is independence. It gives us mental and physical competency, and it also helps us sustain where extrinsic pursuit will hold us back. So, if a child feels that I cannot work without a particular teacher, that child is continuously looking for external validation compared to a child who has understood the concept, and that child, irrespective of which situation is, can solve that particular topic or problem because he is competent and he is independent with studies. Now, unreflected experiences do not give or have any value. But if you reflect on your actions and your experiences, you will definitely bring a new meaning to your life. And the strongest predicator for happy life is the quality of our relationships and friendships. So these are the few things we can do, like three good things we can hear, writing a gratitude letter for ourselves or someone we love, going out for a walk. Again, this is not a walk where you're trying to calculate on your device that in 15 minutes I covered so much of distance. This walk is completely free of your devices. It is free of all your distractions. It is just going out for a walk and looking at the nature around you. The next is act of kindness. Act of kindness as in altruism, doing nice things for people around us. Having flow hour. Flow hour is so important. It is highly undervalued. But every week, just having that 1 hour to yourself where you're doing what you love the most. No feedbacks are given from your loved ones. No validation by putting things on social media. No seeking praise or compliments for achieving the task. It can be simple things like baking something, watching a movie which you really like, writing one blog, or making digital illustrations, could be anything. Then connection ritual, as a family, as a part of your social circle, having food on the table without your mobiles, without any other distraction, is a good habit to have as a family. Then next is reflective journaling. Every evening, just writing down what has happened in the day, what made me happy, what irritated me, or what I could do tomorrow. And awe practice. Awe practice is wow. This is giving me a sense of wonder. That basic innate curiosity about life and things in general will really create flexibility in your mind and opens your thought processes to experiences. So, with this, I end my workshop for today, and these are the references I have used for the workshop.